Let's continue on here with Mr. Al-Khalili. And he starts his presentation, as I was going to say a minute ago, and he starts out on the right foot, I guess, okay, or more or less. He says, looking at the earth at night reveals to us how successful we've been in harnessing and manipulating energy and how important it is to our existence. Harnessing, manipulating. How do you manipulate concepts? You know, I try to manipulate love, try to manipulate information. I can't. You know, I can imagine it, I can reason it, I can use it in my speech, etc., but I can't touch information. I try to touch information, I always touch papers or computers. I can't touch information. And this guy's talking about harnessing and manipulating energy. What the hell is he talking about? Okay. So in a way, he's trying to get on the right foot, but I don't know if he achieved that with that statement there. But then he makes a bigger blunder because he asked the right question. Okay, and this is the question he asks. He says, energy is vital to us all. Okay, great. We use it. Energy is an it, not in science. Only objects are its in science, in physics. If it's not an object, it's not an it. It's a concept. It must be defined. It only refers to objects. To build the structures that surround and protect us, we use it, again, to power our transport. How do you use energy to power a transport and light our homes? How do you use a concept to do that? I thought we used object. There's got to be an object there coming through the line. You know, and energy is not, as far as I know, is not an object, but maybe he clarifies that for me today, okay? And even more crucially, energy is essential for life itself. Oh, is that so? I didn't know I had any energy, okay? Without the energy we get from the food we eat, we die. But what exactly is energy? Good question. What is energy? Because I thought energy was a concept, but he's asking the question, what? And is energy a what? Well, I thought it was never, I didn't think it was a what, but he seems to think it's a what. And in science, the only whats are physical objects. And here he answers more or less. He said, in attempting to answer these questions, scientists have come up with a strange set of laws that would link together everything from engines to humans to stars. It turns out that energy, so crucial to our daily lives, also helps us make sense of the entire universe. Jesus, I didn't know it was so powerful, this thingy he calls energy. I'm really curious now in trying to find out what this energy thingy is. Okay, he probably is an expert because, I mean, he says it's so vital to our lives. It keeps us alive. It runs the world. All machines run with it. I want to know what this stuff is. It must be magical stuff, this energy thingy. Okay, let's find out what it is. Okay, and so here he goes. He says he tries to illustrate in one of his videos where he talks about energy. He gives us 6 different notions or different visions of what energy is. Good, I love it because I want to know what energy is. And here I have visions. In other words, he tries to visualize energy for us. Okay, let's find out. Let's see if we can figure out what this energy, magical stuff called energy is. Here's the first one. Okay, he shows it as a bunch of particles moving around. Okay, so I guess that's energy, a bunch of particles that are moving around because that's what he illustrated. I mean, objectively, that's what I have in front of me. Then he goes in there and he puts another vision of what he calls energy, and here it is, the other one. Okay, let's see if I can put it up here. Okay, and here you can see it. Looks like smoke or something. I don't know. That's what it appears to me. I don't know what it appears to you, but it seems like smoke to me, okay? He goes in there and makes another vision of what he thinks energy is. And again, it looks a lot like smoke to me. Or maybe, you know, maybe it's some kind of gas maybe that's diffusing in there. I mean, that's what I think it is. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know what it looks like to you. Okay, but I can only tell you what I'm seeing in front of my face, in front of my eyes, and all I see is what looks like gas or some kind of smoke or some kind of powder maybe spread in the air. and that jives with the particles that he put in earlier. Okay, here's another vision. I guess he treats it like turbulence, like waves, maybe a fluid, like when you drop something in the water and it just dissolves in there, or diffuses, dissolves. Okay, here's another vision. Okay, that he puts out. These are all from his video, by the way. Okay, these. Okay, I modified them a little so the BBC won't complain that I'm stealing their copyrights or anything. Here he puts flames or fire, which kind of is a little different than the gas and the waves that he showed just up to that point. Now here's looking at fire or flames. I guess he was thinking of the Greek elements, the four elements plus the quintessential, the ether. But he apparently included the ether as well. This looks like the ether here, maybe all this mystical mist, these ghosts and goblins and bed sheets that are flying around. All these are images that he put for what he thinks energy is. Okay, well, one of the big problems is everything is moving, and what did we just say? That anything that moves is a concept. But he asks, what is energy? So he's saying that energy is a thing. He says that he manipulates it, that it keeps us alive, and we use it for engines and who knows what else. So, apparently he treats it like a physical object. So I want to know what the object is, but all he showed was stuff in motion. I wanted him to kind of freeze the images and show me exactly what energy is before he moves it, before he uses it for all his things that he's going to use it for, right? And so I took the liberty here to take still images from each one of these so that I can, figure out what energy is. And here it is. Here's the summary of what he posted, okay? In one case, he put particles. I took a snapshot of that. Then we have gas, a smoke, maybe some kind of gas as well. Waves, maybe moving in some kind of fluid or in a gaseous medium. Flames, and then what appear to be ink and water, maybe the ether. I don't know. This is what I see. This is objectively what he put in his video. These are the notions he's got of what energy is. So what am I supposed to make of this? What is that body? This body he calls energy. I mean, the first issue, he doesn't define the word energy. But the second issue, he says, oh, energy, we can do all these fancy things with it. It's like saying wood. What is wood? Well, we can turn it into a chair. We can turn it into a battering ram, a baseball bat. Those are things you can do with wood. But what is wood? Well, wood is that thing that I'm pointing to. That's wood. You can point to a tree maybe and say, look, we cut that and turn it into wood, or wood is what we find at the lumber yard or whatever. Okay, so first you got to define what the word wood is, and if wood is an object, you point to it, say that's wood, or that's tree, that's chair. That's the way you do it. And here he hasn't pointed to energy, just gave us a bunch of film, video, and I had to kind of make all these still images to find out what he was referring to. And again, some kind of nebulous stuff there that I can't figure out. Maybe it's a bunch of particles, waves, gases, smoke. I don't know. You tell me what this thingy he calls energy is. Okay, so one way of looking at it, because he talks so much about not only energy, but the fact that Einstein came up with an equation. And again, if you can put energy in an equation, I don't think you can put an object in there. Like, I can't put a dog in an equation. I can't put a tree in an equation. I can't put a stone in an equation. I got to put a number or a variable that represents a number. That with units and so on, I can put that in an equation. And all those are concepts, or what do they call them? Mathematical objects. But I can't put the word tree in an equation, because I can't do anything with the word tree in an equation. So you can't put objects in an equation. That's why mathematical physics and mathematics in general have no objects in them. They only have concepts because they can't put an object in an equation. Okay, so let's get that straight up front. And so here's Mr. Einstein, and he came up, apparently, he's given credit for coming up with this equation. Energy equals mass times velocity of light squared. Okay, E equals mc squared, famous equation from Einstein. Okay, but we have a little bit of problems because, even with Einstein here, because, see, we have Mr. Richard Feynman, who came many years later, and he says we have no idea what energy is. Says it is important to realize that in physics today we have no knowledge of what energy is. And I got a problem with good old Feynman because he's asking what energy is. He makes the same error that Al-Khalili makes. Apparently Al-Khalili hasn't learned anything because they both ask what energy is. Energy is not a what. Energy is a concept. In science, we point to objects and define concepts. And here's the definition you can find everywhere. Energy is defined as the capacity, blah, 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 blah. Capacity is a concept. There's no physical standalone object in the universe called capacity. Capacity is a verb. Okay? That's what it is for the purposes of science. I don't care what it is in ordinary speech. In science, capacity is a verb. It's a concept. Okay? And then you have energy, the quantitative property. Transfer to another. How do you transfer a concept, a property? What do you transfer the color red? I mean, I have no idea what these people say when they transfer it to an object. But yeah, that's how they use it. They define it as a concept and then they want to use it as an object. That's where the problem is. And that's all of mathematical physics, okay? And then just in case, we got a double whammy against good old Einstein here, because here you have these two fellows say, hey, you know, we have no idea what mass is. Nature does not offer us any concept as the amount of matter. History has struck down every proposal to define such a term. Even if we could count number of atoms or by any other counting method try to evaluate amount of matter, that number would not equal mass. So here we have all these gurus. They tell you they don't know what energy is. They don't know what mass is. They don't have a definition for mass. They have a definition for energy, whatever that is, the capacity, okay, potential. That's all it is. And so Einstein's equation goes down the drain, and it's irrational to ask, what is energy if energy is a concept? The word what is reserved in science only for objects. You can ask, what is a dog? What is a tree? What is a rock? You can't ask, what is love? Not in science. That's in ordinary speech. You can't ask, what is information? Not in science. That's in ordinary speech or in mathematics. So you can't ask, what is energy? What is magnetism? What is gravity? All those are concepts. You can't ask what. Okay? What you have to say is, please define energy. Please define gravity. And then if you want to explain it, you better use some object to simulate the mechanism. That's the way it works in science. We're interested in mechanisms, not in equations. Okay. Okay. So here we have Einstein's equation. This is the summary of Einstein's equation. Okay. You can see it here. He said energy is equal mass times velocity of light squared. Well, that's like saying love is equal to information times velocity of light squared. I turned love into information, information into love. Is that what energy does? I turn one concept into another concept, both of them undefined or semi-defined or whatever. So what does it matter if you turn mass into energy and energy into mass if we have not understood anything about how the universe works by using these concepts? In fact, all we did was mask, our understanding. We still remain in ignorance with these equations. We have no idea what is happening out there. All we have is concepts with which we name invisible phenomena that we cannot either see or touch, intangible and invisible. And all we can do is say, name it. And by naming it, we're not explaining anything. We need to identify the physical objects that underlie mechanisms, that Mother Nature's secret invisible mechanism. We need to identify her secret agents, her spies. How does she do gravity? How does she do magnetism? That's what we need to figure out. The only way to figure that out is by identifying the invisible, intangible objects. We can't use words such as energy, mass, field, force, time. None of those words help us identify the objects that Mother Nature uses to do her daily work, to run her shop. Okay? And so this is my conclusion from good old Al-Khalili. I think this is what energy is to him, some kind of soul going up to heaven. Is that what it is, a spirit? Whenever you need to put a word inside your presentation, you say, oh, it's energy. So what is energy? Well, we don't know, but we use it at all times, okay? And then, of course, you also have Mr. Al-Khalili. He moves in there and tries to explain entropy, okay? And the issue here with entropy is that apparently is some kind of something related to order. Order? What is order? Order seems like an opinion. For you, what is order to you is disorder for me, and vice versa. Order is an opinion, okay? And what does that have to do with science? And he relates it to energy, because they said he does this little history of entropy and how it was related to energy and the second law of thermodynamics, okay? And so you look up and you say, well, what is this famous word entropy? I want to know, because it must be some physical object. Again, what is entropy, right? And you look up and you find these definitions. It's a quantity and it's a measure or degree of disorder. What's that got to do with science? What's that got to do with physics? Okay, I mean, here I tried to figure out if this has anything to do with politics, maybe. Maybe this is what it's all about. Order, right? Maybe it's Stalin or Hitler or Mao Zedong. Okay, maybe one of these guys has something to do with order. Or maybe it's got to do with this, I don't know. What is this order stuff? Maybe it's got to do with putting order into town. Okay, is this what entropy is all about? I mean, what does entropy have to do with science? What does it have to do with explaining a mechanism? And yeah, no wonder these people cannot explain anything, because they're using concepts, and they're using concepts which are irrelevant to physics. And in physics, we need to identify the invisible objects that Mother Nature uses to do her stuff, and then we're done with physics, we're done with science, and then we can all go to extinction. You know what I mean? So we don't need all these concepts such as time and force and field and energy and mass. What do we need those for? Charge. What do we need all that stuff for? Entropy? What's the point of this word entropy? What does it help us in explaining how the universe runs? That we have more disorder in the universe? Well, according to God, he's got order there for you. From your little point of view, you're a little ant looking at the universe. You say, well, there's so much disorder. I don't understand anything. Well, God from up there, from his computer, he says, yeah, I've got order. I'm in control. I know what's going on. I've got gravity controlling all these stars and galaxies. I'm in control. So order, disorder, arrow of time. As you go with the arrow, more disorder. Nothing reassembles itself, and yet we do. We take we take wood and we chop it up. We do all kinds of things. We build a chair. Well, I could argue that that disorder turned into order, because now we have something useful: a chair, table. You make a baby. Does it become more disorder over time? Maybe it does. I don't know. When I had babies, had 3 babies, they were pretty messy, pretty disordered when they were kids. Now they're very well ordered compared to when they were babies. So I don't know about disorder. I think it's got to do with opinions. And they bring in the word time in there, like the arrow of time and so on. And the problem is that they never define time. Okay, so this entropy thing is a one-way arrow, and they say the more you go into the future, the more disorder it is, but we don't know what time is. Here you have the Wikipedia and the New Advent. They say they're still working on the word time. Okay, Yeah, and we don't use the word time in science. They only use it in mathematics. And so we don't know what they're breaking their heads about and whether they're ever going to figure it out anyways, right? And then, yeah, here you have a couple people who, hyperphysics, they don't even define time. Look, they define displacement, velocity, acceleration. They don't define time. And Wolfram just says it's a quantity. Yeah, it's a quantity that they use in mathematics. It has nothing to do with physics or with science. Okay, we don't need the word time for anything. Uh, Before and after, how's that for time? Qualitative time, if we use it at all for anything, but that's fine with us. That's accurate enough. Okay, so what are my arguments against good old Jim here, essentially, to round up the night? He doesn't clarify up front whether energy is an object or a concept. That's where he fails completely. Okay, he asks, "What is energy?" Here I'm watching his entire presentation, and never does he define the word energy. Yeah, he never tells us what energy is or defines it or anything. So we don't have any idea at the end of this 1 hour show, 1 hour presentation, what energy is or how to define this word. We're still as ignorant as we came in. Then if it's a concept, he can't manipulate it. He can't say he's going to manipulate it. So if energy is a concept and it's what the dictionaries define as the capacity, then obviously there's no physical object called the capacity, and he can't say that he's going to transfer the capacity or convert it into mass or eat it or poop it. It is irrational to propose that concepts have the power to move or be moved in physics. Period. We're done. If an object, Jimmy just has to point to it and name it. So he says energy, that's energy. If it's a what, if it's a thing. He didn't do that. I had to do that for him, and I still don't understand. I see particles over here, waves over there, gas over there, smoke, ether. I don't know. I don't know what energy is. What he means by energy every time he pronounces the word. Maybe it's the quintessential, the fifth element. I don't know. Jimmy did a lot of history on the mathemagicians. Okay, that's great, fine. What did they find out? Well, he and his heroes explained nothing. All he did was say, "Oh, how we developed technology." Okay, and they have lots of equations and no understanding whatsoever. He can't tell you how a magnet attracts another or how gravity works by using this word energy. And he glorifies technology we have developed a result of energy. Unfortunately for him, technology has nothing to do with science. Technology we develop by trial and error, and science is about explaining.